Okay, after years of teasing, we finally see Thanos on the big screen with the release of Avengers Infinity War. I mean, here's one of Marvel's most powerful villains, somebody that it takes the combined forces of most of their greatest heroes to confront. Thanos was introduced in Iron Man number 55 in 1973, but he was far more than just a foe of the Armored Avenger. The story weaved in and out of several titles, and Thanos wasn't defeated until Marvel 2-in-1 Annual number 2, where he single-handedly battled the Avengers, The Thing, Captain Marvel, Adam Warlock, and Spider-Man. And each time he returned thereafter, it took massive multi-part crossovers to take him down. The brainchild of comic legend Jim Starlin, Thanos was a member of the Eternals of Titan, a highly evolved race that broke off from the Eternals of Earth years before. His power was great to begin with, and his obsession with the near all-powerful Infinity Gems, combined with his not even metaphorically romantic devotion to death itself, made him a threat that shook the core of any hero who heard his name. For a time, Thanos wanted to end the lives of no less than half of the universe's population to prove his devotion to a cosmic conceptual entity who was just as indifferent to his desires as she was to everything else. Thanos isn't simply a villain. Finding out Thanos is involved can make any hero's spine shiver. And that's what I'm talking about right now. Now, I love supervillains in general, from the powerful to the clever to the goofy to this guy. But what I want to talk about right now are those villains that really make the heroes crap their pants. So this list might be a little bit subjective. Now, the Joker is possibly the perfect example of this now, but in the Golden Age, even though he was introduced as a casual murderer, many of his schemes were just routine or even comical. And the same can be said of Two-Face, the Scarecrow, many of Batman's greatest foes. But the Monk was the first enemy Batman faced that really put shivers down his spine. Using Batman's own romantic interest, Julie Madison, as a hypnotized weapon in his plans, the Monk and his assistant Dala are revealed to be vampires and are only defeated by Batman shooting them with silver bullets. They didn't appear again until the early 80s, and then the original story was retold in 2006 in a limited series, and although his appearances are few, all of them give Batman pause. The Yellow Menace was a big cliché in the 30s and 40s despite its racist overtones. Several knockoffs of the pulp-era mastermind Fu Manchu graced the comics, the most notable being Lev Gleason's The Claw, who had his own feature, often battling the heroic Ghost, but also giving more prominent Gleason hero Daredevil an occasional run for his money. Other titles from the villain's point of view existed as well, such as Dr. Doom, not that one, from Fox Comics, who plagued aviators Jan and Wanda time and again. In most cases, there was a recurring hero who kept the villain from actually succeeding, but the villain was decisively the more interesting character. Yeah, if you know me, you know that my favorite Golden Age villain is Dr. Thaddeus Bodog Savannah, the greatest enemy of Captain Marvel, but maybe not his scariest. For that regard, we have to go to the one villain who convinced the others, all the others, to join forces, who united not only a bevy of costume criminals and evil masterminds, even Dr. Savannah himself, but who took over organized crime, alien races, and even the Axis powers, and formed them into a monster society of evil. The fact that Mr. Mind was a worm smaller than your pinky finger wasn't important. He literally united all evil in the world into a single force under his command, and put the world's mightiest mortal through a gauntlet that took 25 entire issues to overcome. But how can you be alive, whatever you are? This place is in ruins. Every living thing must be crushed.
But not Mr. Mind. Think back. Maybe you saw me once. You succeeded by wrecking my laboratory, but I can build another on Earth. I'll escape now in my spaceship.
And then Captain Marvel met Black Adam. A frequent foe today, in the Golden Age, Adam only appeared once, but his power was so great, he took on the entire Marvel family all at once, and combined, they lacked the power to hurt him. Now, many superheroes of the Golden Age fought primarily ordinary criminals, or possibly a succession of bizarre and eccentric, but otherwise mundane enemies. But of the archfoes of the Golden Age, most heroes had one, and they fought them a lot. You can die happy in the vault, Magneto!
That Davy is probably suffocating as he exhausts the air in the vault where I locked him. No, not that! I can't look, it's awful! Imagine having your arm bitten off like that. Into the quicksand with him, and don't forget to pick up his arm. Welcome, children. You are indeed lucky to meet the future master of the world. The Comics Code kept a lot of villains from becoming too terrifying by the time we entered the Silver Age. So while we had great characters like Doctor Doom, Magneto, and Lex Luthor, it was the 70s when villains really brought back the terror. With Ra's al Ghul torturing Batman in new and different ways, the rise of Darkseid, whose presence shook the very foundation of the DC Universe, and of course, Thanos, we saw a new surge of villains who were more threatening than the heroes we're used to. Then The Dark Knight Returns made the Joker truly terrifying, and upped the ante even more. Soon enough we had monsters like Carnage and psychopaths like Bullseye, and old villains reinvented as new terrors, as Alias did with the Purple Man, a villain once written off as a fourth stringer turned into one of the creepiest fiends in comics, or Dr. Light going from literal joke to genuine monster.
And let's not even get into the virtually omnipotent villains like Galactus and the Anti-Monitor, or maybe we should, because once Thanos collects all the Infinity Gems and forms the Infinity Gauntlet, who's gonna stop him? Well, my money's on these guys.
But he's still no Mr. Mind.
At any rate, with great power comes even greater enemies, and that is Thanos' Golden Age influence.
Stare into my eyes, Major. Look until you see death.
Look at death! Yes!